Good day and welcome back. So this will be the start of the next project, and as you can see, the main subject will be the T34-85, and this is the start of the last of my little series that I was doing, which is Soviet armor through the seasons, and this will be the T34 in summer. So the scenic base it'll be on will be summer themed. I haven't figured that one out yet, but we'll go from there. Figure what we'll do though is we will start with this Zvezda 1/35 scale kit, and we'll go ahead and we'll look through the box. And there are other T34s out there, but this one I kind of wanted to give Zvezda another try. Zvezda has made some pretty nice kits that I've enjoyed, so I figured I'd go with this. Let's take a quick look around the box. You have information about it in various languages, Russian and English, etc. You have your paint call out in Tamiya and Zvezda colors. The box art. You have the other box art for other kits that they have. German Panzer, the T34. I've built this one already, which I really did enjoy. That's the SU-122, which I have not done, but I might at some point because that looked kind of fun. And then we flip over and you get pictures of the completed model. So it's not just a look at CG. It's the actual model and painted up, which is looking kind of nice. And I believe those are and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is late 44, so like the charge into Berlin markings is what is on there. So we'll see if I'm going to go that route. Now, typical Zvezda, it's a slide out box, but it has a pop. And I really do like these boxes. Let's figure out which ones. There we go. I really do like the way these boxes work. So I have tossed in here a star decals I don't want to say upgrade, but some extra decals for the T34 because I picked those up for my Lee. And we have a couple of bags of plastic. If I can get my fingers to work here and pull them out. And then other stuff. And if I could get my fingers to work, it'd be cool. And this is just sort of okay. I'm not going to bother reading through that. So first things first, you have, these are the transfers, very simple. That's all they have. It was one of the reasons I was motivated to pick up the star decals. And you also have mesh. So I'm going to go ahead and open this bag. And this is kind of cool. So you do have this plastic mesh. And I think this is where you would normally see PE. You'd see PE for a grid or a grill. And in this case, we're using this plastic, which is kind of neat. And I will put that back in the bag so that I can keep hold of it. And again, my fingers are being what they are. And there's actual clear parts for what we have. They're very small. There'll be very few because there's only a few periscopes and vision blocks, but they are what they are. And then you have the markings for the T34 1944, and you have it it's the same thing in English. So if you don't want to try and figure it out in the Russian language, you can flip it over. And this tells you what your painting and your transfer callouts are for. All right. So painting is pretty straightforward. Russians, for the most part, late war, it's all green, right? Paint it green, go. Painting green and go. So the real trick is going to be in the weathering, and that's really what makes these things come to life. So look at the instruction sheet, and it looks pretty simple. So the kit looks like it's pretty simple. You have here's your sprue map, right? And there's not much. So you have two of these, so it looks like you're going to have link and length tracks. Your ABF screws, etc. This is the net for grills, various different. You have 5 of these, and I believe these are your wheels. So yeah, the T34 was pretty simply built, and it looks like the kit is going to be done very similarly. Now here, interestingly, it's telling you to remove those 3 bolt heads. Interesting. Okay. Not really sure why, but I'll find out when I go to build it. I'm assuming it's because it was necessary or something's going to go there or whatever. So then you have your swing arms. They just glue on. As you're basically going, it doesn't have a tub. You build the tub. So you have your suspension. Interestingly, you actually have the spring of the suspension inside and you can see it. So depending on how detailed you want to get to with the painting of this, I'm really not sure how much you're going to see a very little bit. So think about that and think about how detailed you really want to get with painting this guy. There's your wheels. They go on, and you know, if you think about it, that spring is going to get covered up by the wheels. So again, how detailed do you want to be? Your exhaust cover. There's a couple of handles. Putting your top on. Then the tanks. You know, the fuel tanks, the details there. The grill, that's where you put your wire mesh in, right here. This one does have you putting on spare track links to the front. They did that. Putting your turret together. There's like no interior detail at all. So, you know, obviously there's really no point in having your hatches open unless you really want to go to town. There are your tow cables. And they're mounted to the side here. And that's pretty much it. You know, and this is where it shows it. Tow cable come down, hooking onto the front. So, yeah, your gun, etc. So it looks pretty straightforward to build. Let's go ahead and take a quick look inside. So the parts are in this really heavy plastic bag. Pull them out. Set that aside. So pretty ugly ejector pin marks where they exist, but they look to be where you're not going to see them. Don't see sink marks on the outside of where they were. These are those 3 bolts you're supposed to remove up in there. Detail looks to be fine. There's your bolts, your exhaust covers. That's your springs, wheels. Springs are okay. I mean, they're not really. I don't see anything really terrible here. This is awful smooth up under here. Again, how much of that's really going to be seen, and does it matter? You've got your really nice, you know, you've got bolt heads and stuff for these covers here. There's your shovel. There's a very fine, if I can get that to focus. There we go. A very fine grab handle. There's a little bit of what looked to be, I almost wonder if that's intentional. But I don't see a lot of flashing or anything that really is of worry. Here's your tracks. Now your tracks do have, right here, you can see some ejector pin marks, and they're raised, so those will be removable by sanding them. The detail on the underneath is okay. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I'm assuming it's accurate enough. This surface of it looks kind of meh, and I mean, I think now the interesting thing here is, so it looks like There's no, yeah, so your link and length. Typically on link and length, you have your top link has sag. This one doesn't. Does this one? So these are the same. And so your top length has no sag. So and essentially the way these goes is these would bounce over top of the wheels. They'd be fairly tight, but they would bounce. This doesn't have any of that. So I may look into tracks, but that is definitely a concern for those who, well, it's a concern if you're going to build a tank. Track sag is like the number one thing people look at. I think it's like, something they look at before they look at anything else. It's, hey, there's no sag in that track. There's no sag there. It doesn't look right. So we'll see. We'll see what I end up going with there. So with this one here, this has a canvas roll for the back. You're going to have to glue that together. There will be seam work there. So here's a piece that's suicided, part of one of the tanks off of there. Overall, it's not bad. It's kind of nice. Wheel details okay. Again, your sink marks where they exist or your ejector pin marks where they exist are pretty ugly. But they're not terrible in that they're where you can find them. And then these nice fine pieces are pretty fine. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. Take a look. We've got a bunch of these. These are the wheels. I'm only going to look at one because theoretically they're all the same. They're good. There's no markings on the tires. So if there was meant to be, there aren't any. Otherwise, though, yeah, not bad. Detail's not terrible. It's all passable. It's all great. Does it have micro detail? No. Now here's something interesting. So all right, so this is kind of clever. So your tow cable is all molded in plastic. Now, let me see if I can get this to focus. I was looking at it myself. I don't know if it's focusing here for you guys. Come on. There we go. So there's no seam, so there's no mold line, which is nice. And the detail on that is nice, but it's also plastic. Now it will form, so it'll be kind of snug. It's the first time I've actually seen something done in plastic and actually done nicely. The surface detail of the tank is, so your turret is definitely cast, and you have some nice cast texture there. I don't know if there's meant to be texture on the surface of the hull, but there isn't any. So you do have a nice weld line right here, which is pretty cool. So I think the detail's okay. I think the detail's pretty nice. No ejector pin mark on the surface where you're going to see them. They're terrible on the inside, but again, you don't care. And then your barrel, there's a seam, but it's really not bad. The seam really is not bad at all. There's a muzzle. Muzzle must be on one of the other things. So, yeah. Like I said, I also got these star decal transfers just because I wanted some. I may want to make this more interesting. We'll see. This is for a T34 for 1943. And this is for 76, a T34. This is on a 76. Instead of an 85. But I might use some of the slogans or markings or whatever. Anyway. So, what are my thoughts here? The kit's not bad. It really isn't. It looks kind of simplistic. And I probably I don't know, and I don't know that I can really comment about it until I get into building it, which I'm going to, obviously it'll be part of the series. I'll do a little bit more research on what the surface of the tank's supposed to look like. Now, I know they turn these things out. I mean, they just churned them out, one right after the other, out of every different factory they could possibly get them out of, and they just threw them into the front. So, this may be just fine. Like the fender's a little thick, but I kind of want to say this feels like a Tamiya or a Revel kit, right? Sorry for bumping that. It's the detail is there, and I think the thing that's the most disappointing of all of it is the track. And I think if I'm going to do an upgrade, I don't want to do an upgrade, so I don't want to really upgrade this kit. I want to kind of roll with it as is and just let the diorama happen. But I may very likely look into doing, finding a 35th scale track upgrades, just because I kind of think that I have a feeling this is going to go together like in a weekend, right? And the real challenge is going to be in the painting of it. So, but like things like this little detail there, and these details here, I wonder how doable they are the way they are. So we'll see. Right, it'll be an entertaining build. We'll just go ahead and give it a shot. So with that said, that's the look inside this box of the T3485 from Zvezda. Yeah, we will go ahead and get started on that project, and we'll see where we go. So I hope this was entertaining, useful, and informative. And if anybody has any questions or queries or comments, please feel free to put them down below. Just make them respectful. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. Happy modeling.